Let me ask you something important. If you share a senior, if you're watching your blood sugar, if you wake up in the morning and your glucose numbers are higher than expected, even though you didn't sit to eat sugar, you need to hear this. Because there is one common vegetable many seniors eat at dinner, believing it's healthy, that can quietly spike blood sugar overnight, and most people have no idea it's happening. Now listen carefully. This vegetable is not bad for everyone, but for seniors, especially those with insulin resistance, prediabetes, or type 2 diabetes, it can be a serious problem. I'm talking about starchy vegetables eaten late in the day. And the biggest offender, the potatoes. Let me explain something that most seniors are never told, yet it may be one of the biggest reasons blood sugar becomes harder to control with age. Many people believe that vegetables are always safe, that if it's green, grown from the ground, or labeled natural, it cannot raise blood sugar. That belief is one of the biggest misunderstandings in nutrition, especially for seniors. As we age, the body changes. Metabolism slows. Muscle mass decreases. Insulin sensitivity is not what it used to be. The same food you ate in your 30s or 40s without a problem can behave very differently in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. And this is where the problem begins. Some vegetables, particularly starchy vegetables, can raise blood sugar significantly, sometimes more than people expect, and sometimes more than sweets. What makes this even more dangerous is that the spike often happens quietly, without symptoms, and frequently overnight. You go to bed feeling fine. You didn't sit, eat dessert. You didn't drink soda. Yet you wake up with elevated glucose levels. This confuses many seniors. They think their diabetes is getting worse for no reason, but there is a reason, and it's often hiding right on the dinner plate. Starchy vegetables break down into glucose very quickly once digested. When you eat them, especially in larger portions, your bloodstream is flooded with sugar. In a younger body, muscles quickly absorb that glucose and burn it for energy. But in seniors, muscles are less responsive, insulin doesn't work as efficiently, and excess glucose stays circulating in the blood. Now here are stits where timing becomes critical. At night, your body is not designed to process large amounts of glucose. Your metabolism slows down, insulin sensitivity drops, growth hormone and cortisol patterns change. Instead of burning sugar, your body focuses on repair, inflammation control, and basic survival functions. So when a senior eats certain vegetables late in the day, particularly starchy ones that sugar has nowhere to go, it lingers, it accumulates, and it quietly raises blood sugar levels while you sleep. This is why many seniors experience what's known as elevated fasting glucose in the morning. They assume it's something mysterious or unavoidable. In reality, it's often connected to what they ate the night before. Potatoes are one of the most common examples. Baked, mashed, boiled, it doesn't matter. Once digested, potatoes convert rapidly into glucose. Their glycemic impact is extremely high, sometimes even higher than refined sugar. Seniors are often shocked when they hear this because potatoes have been labeled healthy for generations. But health is contextual. What works for a young, active body may not work for an aging one. And potatoes are not alone. Corn, peas, sweet potatoes, and beets can all have a similar effect. These vegetables contain a higher starch content that quickly turns into sugar in the bloodstream. When eaten at dinner, especially without protein or fat, they can push blood sugar levels up for hours. The danger here isn't just numbers on a glucose meter. Chronically elevated blood sugar damages blood vessels. It accelerates nerve damage. It stresses the kidneys. It increases inflammation throughout the body. Over time, it raises the risk of heart disease, vision problems, cognitive decline, and poor wound healing. And what makes this especially frustrating for seniors is that they believe they are doing everything right. They start avoiding candy. They start skipping desserts. They start eating vegetables. Yet their blood sugar still rises. This creates discouragement, fear, and confusion. But the truth is simpler than most people realize. Not all vegetables affect blood sugar the same way, and for seniors, the body's ability to handle carbohydrates, yes, even from vegetables, is reduced. This doesn't mean these vegetables are bad foods. It means they must be eaten with awareness. Portion size matters, timing matters, and combinations matter. Eating a large serving of starchy vegetables alone at night is one of the worst combinations for blood sugar control in seniors. The body interprets that meal as a glucose load it cannot efficiently manage. Overnight, insulin struggles to keep up. Blood sugar remains elevated. By morning, the damage has already been done. Many seniors never connect the dots because the effect is delayed. The spike doesn't happen immediately after eating. It shows up hours later. That delay hides the cause. And this is why education is so important. Blood sugar issues don't come only from sugar. They come from misunderstanding how the aging body processes food. When seniors understand this, everything changes. They stop blaming themselves. They stop fearing food. They start making smarter, calmer choices. Awareness gives control, and control gives health. The goal is not to eliminate vegetables. The goal is to eat the right vegetables in the right amounts at the right time. When seniors learn this, blood sugar stabilizes, energy improves, inflammation decreases, and mornings become clearer and calmer. This isn't about restriction. It's about understanding your body. And once you understand how certain vegetables quietly raise blood sugar overnight, you can finally take back control without fear, without confusion, and without unnecessary medication. Let's talk about something that almost no one explains clearly, yet it affects millions of seniors every single night. It's not just what you eat, it's when you eat it. Many seniors spend years focusing on food quality, calories, sugar, and fat. Yet they overlook one of the most powerful factors in blood sugar control, timing. You can eat a food that seems harmless, even healthy, and still experience high glucose levels the next morning simply because it was eaten at the wrong time. As we age, our internal clock changes. The body becomes more sensitive to time. Hormones follow a rhythm, digestion follows a rhythm, and blood sugar regulation follows a rhythm. When that rhythm is ignored, problems begin to appear quietly at first, then persistently. During the daytime, your body is designed to handle carbohydrates more efficiently. You're moving, muscles are active, insulin works better, glucose is taken out of the bloodstream and used as fuel. Even if blood sugar rises temporarily, it usually comes back down. But nighttime is different. In the evening, metabolism slows down. The pancreas does not release insulin as effectively. Muscles become less responsive to glucose. The body shifts from use energy mode into repair and rest mode. This is a normal biological process, but for seniors, the shift is more pronounced. Now imagine what happens when you eat a carbohydrate-heavy dinner. Instead of being burned, glucose accumulates. Instead of being used, sugar circulates. Instead of stabilizing, blood sugar stays elevated for hours. This is why dinner is the most dangerous meal of the day for seniors when it comes to blood sugar. It's not because dinner itself is bad. It's because the body's ability to process carbohydrates at night is reduced. Many seniors eat their largest meal in the evening. It's familiar. It's comforting. It's how they were raised. But the body they have now is not the body they had decades ago. And the body doesn't lie. When starchy vegetables are eaten late in the day, they digest into glucose quickly, but the body cannot clear that glucose efficiently. Instead of returning to normal levels, blood sugar stays elevated through the night. You feel it. There's just no pain.
No warning.
No alarm. The only sign appears the next morning on a glucose meter. This is why so many seniors say, my sugar is always high in the morning no matter what I do. What they're really seeing is the leftover effect of dinner. Now let's just talk about sleep. Sleep is supposed to lower inflammation, balance hormones, and restore the body, but elevated blood sugar interferes with that process. High nighttime glucose increases oxidative stress, disrupts deep sleep, and raises cortisol levels. Poor sleep then worsens insulin resistance, so the cycle continues. Eat starch, late blood sugar stays high, sleep quality drops, insulin resistance worsens, morning sugar rises even more. Over time, this pattern becomes chronic. What makes this even more frustrating is that many seniors eat late because they believe it helps prevent nighttime hunger or low blood sugar. In reality, eating the wrong foods late does the opposite. The body does not need heavy carbohydrates at night. It needs stability. Protein and non-starchy vegetables provide that stability. They digest slowly. They don't spike glucose. They support overnight repair. But when the dinner plate is dominated by starchy vegetables, the body is overwhelmed at the worst possible time. Another issue is portion size. At night, even small portions can have a big impact. A serving that might be tolerated at lunch can cause a spike at dinner. Seniors often eat the same portion size as they did years ago, unaware that their tolerance has changed. This is not a failure of discipline. It's just biology, and biology demands respect. The timing of food also affects hormones like melatonin and cortisol. Elevated blood sugar suppresses melatonin, the hormone that helps you fall asleep. This leads to a shallow sleep, frequent waking, and early morning fatigue. Poor sleep then leads to higher hunger the next day, creating cravings for quick energy, often carbohydrates. And so the cycle repeats. This is why blood sugar control cannot be separated from timing. You can eat healthy foods and still struggle if those foods are eaten at the wrong time. Seniors often focus on what to remove from their diet, but sometimes the most powerful change is simply shifting carbohydrates earlier in the day. When starchy vegetables are eaten at breakfast or lunch, the body has time and activity to use that glucose. Blood sugar rises briefly, then comes back down. At night, the same food behaves very differently. This is not theory, it's physiology. Understanding this removes confusion and guilt. It explains why medications sometimes seem ineffective. It explains why numbers rise for no reason. There is always a reason. And once seniors understand the role of timing, they regain control. Dinner becomes lighter, blood sugar becomes steadier, sleep improves. Morning readings start to make sense. This is not about eating less. This stuff's about eating smarter. The body at night needs calm, not glucose. It needs balance, not overload. And when seniors respect that rhythm, blood sugar stops fighting them and starts working with them. That simple shift changing when you eat certain vegetables can make the difference between frustration and stability, confusion and clarity, struggle and control. Let me clear up one of the biggest misunderstandings seniors have about vegetables, because this misunderstanding quietly sabotages blood sugar control every single day. Not all vegetables act the same in the body. Some behave more like sugar than people realize. And at the top of that list are high glycemic vegetables, especially potatoes. Potatoes have been praised for decades. They're natural, they come from the ground, they contain vitamins and minerals. So people assume they're harmless, but the body doesn't care about food labels or reputation. It responds to how fast food turns into glucose. And potatoes turn into glucose very fast. Once you eat a potato, your digestive system breaks it down rapidly into sugar. That sugar enters the bloodstream quickly, often causing a sharp rise in blood glucose. For seniors, this rise is much harder to control. In fact, many forms of potatoes, mashed, baked, roasted, even boiled, have a glycemic impact that rivals or exceeds table sugar. That surprises people. But it's true. The problem becomes worse as we age because insulin no longer works as efficiently. Muscles don't absorb glucose the way they used to. The liver becomes more resistant so that sugar stays in the bloodstream longer, causing damage over time. And potatoes are not the only ones. Corn is another example. Corn may look like a vegetable, but metabolically it behaves more like a grain. It's packed with starch that quickly converts into glucose. For seniors, especially when eaten in the evening, corn can cause prolonged blood sugar elevation. Peas fall into the same category. While they contain fiber and protein, they are still relatively high in starch. In younger individuals, this may not cause an issue. In seniors, especially those with insulin resistance, peas can contribute to post-meal glucose spikes. Sweet potatoes often get a health halo because they contain antioxidants and nutrients, but sweet does not just describe the taste, it describes the blood sugar response. Sweet potatoes still break down into sugar, and for many seniors, the body does not distinguish between natural sugar and any other form of glucose. Beets are another overlooked example. They are often promoted for heart health and circulation, but they also contain a high natural sugar content. When eaten in large portions or late in the day, they can raise blood sugar significantly. Now here sits what makes this dangerous. These vegetables are often eaten together. Potatoes with corn, peas as a side dish, sweet potatoes at dinner. That combination creates a glucose load the aging body cannot manage. And the spike, doesn't this always happen immediately? Sometimes blood sugar rises slowly and stays elevated for hours. That slow rise gives a false sense of safety. Seniors think, I felt fine after dinner, but the damage is happening quietly while they sleep. Chronically elevated blood sugar stiffens arteries, it damages nerves, it feeds inflammation, it accelerates aging. And because these foods are considered healthy, seniors often eat them without caution, without limits, and without balance. This leads to frustration. They do everything right, or so they think, yet their blood sugar numbers don't improve. The truth is not that they're doing something wrong, they're just missing one critical piece of information. So, high glycemic vegetables demand respect, not fear. These foods are not poison, they're not forbidden, but they must be treated like carbohydrates, not free foods. Portion size matters. Timing matters. Combination matters. Eating potatoes alone is one of the worst ways to consume them. Without protein or fat, glucose enters the bloodstream rapidly. The insulin response is exaggerated, and blood sugar control worsens. When eaten with protein, healthy fats, and fiber, the spike is slower and smaller, but for seniors, even that may not be enough at night. This is why many seniors do better when high glycemic vegetables are limited to earlier in the day or consumed occasionally, not daily. Another factor is cooking method. The more processed and soft the vegetable, the faster it turns into glucose. Mashed potatoes spike blood sugar faster than whole ones. Overcooked vegetables spike faster than lightly cooked ones. Texture matters. The easier it is to chew and digest, the faster it raises blood sugar. This is why comfort foods are often blood sugar disasters. Comfort foods are designed to digest quickly, and quick digestion means quick glucose. Seniors must understand that blood sugar doesn't just respond to sugar, it responds to speed. The speed at which food becomes glucose determines how hard insulin must work. And insulin in an aging body is already tired. Ignoring this leads to worsening insulin resistance. Over time, the pancreas struggles, medications increase, complications appear, but understanding this changes everything. Once seniors recognize that potatoes and similar vegetables act more like sugar than leafy greens, they stop being confused by their numbers. They stop blaming their body. They stop feeling powerless. Instead, they make conscious choices. They replace starchy sides with lower glycemic options more often. They reduce portions. They shift timing earlier. They balance meals with protein and fat. And blood sugar begins to stabilize. This is not about perfection, it's about awareness. When you understand how certain vegetables affect your blood sugar, you stop being surprised by your readings, you stop guessing, you stop reacting, you start controlling. And for seniors, control is not about restriction, it's about freedom. Freedom from spikes, freedom from confusion, freedom from unnecessary damage. High glycemic vegetables don't announce themselves, they don't come with warning labels, but once you know how they work, you can enjoy food intelligently instead of paying for it later. That knowledge alone can protect your blood vessels, your nerves, your heart, and your future. Now let me show you the other side of this, the side that gives seniors peace of mind instead of fear. Because controlling blood sugar is not about eliminating vegetables, it's about choosing the right ones, especially at night. There are vegetables that work with your body instead of against it. Vegetables that stabilize blood sugar instead of spiking it. vegetables that support healing, reduce inflammation, and protect your arteries while you sleep. These are low glycemic vegetables, and for seniors, they are some of the most powerful foods you can eat at dinner. Low glycemic vegetables digest slowly. They release glucose gradually, if at all. They don't overwhelm insulin. They don't flood the bloodstream with sugar. Instead, they provide fiber, minerals, antioxidants, and volume without triggering dangerous spikes. This is exactly what the aging body needs at night. Vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, zucchini, cabbage, green beans, asparagus, and leafy greens do not behave like sugar in the bloodstream. They are mostly fiber and water with very little starch. Fiber slows digestion. It feeds beneficial gut bacteria. It helps blunt glucose release and keeps blood sugar steady for hours. When seniors eat these vegetables at dinner, something remarkable happens. Blood sugar remains stable overnight. Inflammation decreases. Sleep improves. Morning glucose readings make sense again. This is not coincidence. It's physiology. At night, your body wants calm. It wants repair. It wants balance. Low glycemic vegetables support all three. Another powerful benefit is satiety. These vegetables allow seniors to feel full without overeating carbohydrates. Fullness without a spike is one of the most important goals in blood sugar control. Hunger leads to snacking. Snacking leads to glucose instability. Stability begins with the right dinner plate. Now let's talk about combinations, because vegetables don't work alone. When low glycemic vegetables are paired with protein, blood sugar control improves dramatically. Protein slows digestion even further. It stabilizes insulin response. It preserves muscle mass, something seniors desperately need as they age. Protein also reduces nighttime cravings and prevents late night eating, which is one of the biggest causes of glucose spikes. Add healthy fats and the effect becomes even stronger. Fats slow gastric emptying, they reduce glucose absorption speed, they provide long-lasting energy without raising blood sugar. Olive oil, avocado, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish are powerful allies when used properly. This combination, low glycemic vegetables, protein, and healthy fat, creates the ideal dinner for seniors. It tells the body you are safe. You don't need to release stress hormones. You don't need to raise blood sugar. And the body listens. Another overlooked benefit of low glycemic vegetables is their effect on insulin sensitivity. Over time, stable blood sugar improves how cells respond to insulin. This means the body needs less insulin to do the same job. Less insulin means less fat storage, less inflammation, and less metabolic stress. This is especially important for seniors because insulin resistance is one of the main drivers of aging-related disease. Low glycemic vegetables also support gut health. Fiber feeds beneficial bacteria that produce compounds improving glucose metabolism and reducing inflammation. A healthier gut leads to better blood sugar control, something many people don't realize. Now let's address fear. Many seniors are afraid of eating at night. They skip dinner or eat too little, then wake up hungry, shaky, or fatigued. This creates stress, and stress raises blood sugar. The solution is not to avoid food. The solution is to eat the right food. Low glycemic vegetables allow seniors to eat dinner without fear. They nourish the body without triggering spikes. They create confidence instead of anxiety. Another key point is consistency. Blood sugar loves predictability. When seniors consistently eat low glycemic dinners, the body adapts. Hormones stabilize. Morning glucose becomes more predictable. Medications often work better because they're no longer fighting nightly spikes. This consistency also improves sleep quality. Stable blood sugar supports melatonin production and reduces nighttime cortisol surges. Better sleep improves insulin sensitivity the next day, creating a positive cycle instead of a destructive one. Small changes compound. Replacing one starchy vegetable at dinner with a low glycemic one may not seem dramatic, but over weeks and months it protects blood vessels, nerves, kidneys, and the heart. And here's just the most important part. This approach gives seniors control without deprivation. They sit, you're not starving. The sugar not obsessing. They sure not afraid of food. They sure eating intelligently. Food becomes a tool instead of a threat. Low glycemic vegetables don't just manage blood sugar, they support longevity, they reduce oxidative stress, they lower chronic inflammation, they help maintain mobility, cognition, and independence. That's the real goal. Not perfect numbers, not extreme diets, but sustainable health. When seniors understand which vegetables protect them at night, everything becomes simpler. Dinner becomes calmer. Mornings become clearer. Confidence replaces confusion.